What's up, everybody? I am Richard.
And I'm Sean. How's that?
And this is a musical episode. No, it's not. We are speaking the language of bromance. How are you, man?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
I, as usual, am doing absolutely stellar.
We've got a little about 72-degree weather here, so it's not quite San Diego but
it's also sunny and actually it's hot today.
Ha!
Which is weird to say in September.
Yeah,
But whatever.
It's been a weird summer, but
It's an Indian summer. I never understood what that meant.
I'm sure it's probably somehow racist.
Yeah.
It's just like there's like so many things like growing up you hear people saying
It's a redskin summer.
Oh, topical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever had anything like that happen to you? I mean, I don't really want to say any words or anything, but
Have I ever had someone call me a cracker?
No, but like somebody says some kind of thing and like you don't realize what it means, and then you use it like in a setting or like you finally realize that what that means is actually really, really racist or really like inappropriate.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know, but I did actually not a few years ago. I actually did find out what the actual meaning of cracker means, because I always thought they were like saltine crackers.
Yeah, that's
saltine crackers are white, and so that's what I thought. I was like, okay, I'm a cracker, so I'm white, but that's not why they call us crackers. By they, I mean whoever.
Take two.
No, the reason that we are called crackers, being white people, is because we used to crack the whip. We were whip crackers.
I worked with a guy at a grocery store. That's what he always thought too, is that it meant saltine cracker. And so he would always call like white people, his friends white people, he'd call them saltines until somebody told him the actual meaning of it. He's like, oh. It's like, I kind of like my definition better.
Yeah. Mine sounds less mean. But no, got schooled on that one. You think racism will be a problem like for my kids? Like, I just don't, I don't know. Like, I just don't. I mean, I think you're always going to have, you're always going to have ignorant people, and you're always going to have ignorant people teaching ignorant things to their children. But I don't know. To me, I don't see. I see it as a problem that's just it's unfortunate that it's going to have to work itself out, but it seems like it is, and it will.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I mean, it seems like you look at like our grandparents' generation, and like that's where you always hear that's just their generation, and like you look at my parents' generation, it's like they're kind of a little bit more like accepting. It's still like we don't say those words as much. And like our generation's like, yeah, we don't say those words at all, and like we don't even really try to see color at all. And then like your kids' generation, it just seems like it's hopefully getting out of the system.
Well, yeah, I mean they just don't even it doesn't even seem like a second thought to my kids. Like they just don't even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like when you think about it, that was only what slavery and the Civil War was like 150 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was relatively recent, and I mean, even think
about
civil
rights movement was
60s.
Only 70 years ago.
Yeah, 50 some years. It was probably like 50 years ago because it was in the 60s, wasn't it, when it kind of came to a head?
Mid late 60s, around the time of Woodstock and flowers and
free love.
Yes. If there's one thing I love, it's free love. I love free love.
But it's kind of a good segue, I guess, when you think not really, but it leads up into
It is a segue because speaking of ignorance,
we're good. We're actually, before we do this, I want to say we're really good at segues, I think.
Segue into, yes, nailed it. Nailed it on the dismount. Okay, I have an article here from the BBC that is also something completely ignorant that I never really had to deal with, and I know you never had to deal with it either. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But you have we're both gamers. I mean,
Love us some Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah, I don't
Pathfinder.
know if that's a secret to anybody. Probably not. Anywho, now we've had our fair share of names, thrown at us. Nerds, geeks, nerds. We've had books hit out of our hands. I've never been stuffed in a locker, or a trash can, or a toilet.
I haven't either.
That is because I learned to run fast. I don't know about you, but
fetal position and cry and wet yourself. They usually leave you alone if you do that.
Oh,
yeah.
Good call.
And if they still go for you, just shit your pants.
Stay away! Oh God!
Did he just shit himself? Oh God!
Oh.
And then they just kick you and leave.
They just take off their shoes and beat you with the shoes. Sicko nerd. Anyway, but I digress. One thing that I have never, well, yes, I have been called freakish, but I have never been called a disciple of Satan, which is apparently, well, which is basically what we're going to delve into today. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but not that long ago, Dungeons & Dragons was a game that came out in the very, very late 60s. Probably didn't really hit popularity until the 70s. And one thing that a lot of flack the game got was because people thought the game was demonic. And by demonic, I mean they thought that because I mean the game was geared towards
like
teenagers,
fantasy worlds, demons.
Fantasy worlds. You had demons. You had people casting spells, and there was this perpetuating myth that this game was, part of the decline of Western civilization, which is just, ridiculous for one, because if anybody has ever seen people play a game of Dungeons and Dragons,
that's probably why they say it.
Well, I mean, just like a bunch of guys, sitting around a table and then talking about like movies and comic books and porn and rolling dice. At least that's,
like, this is so stupid. What are they doing?
Right?
Is that a D4 or a D8?
So this article is from the BBC. It's called The Great 1980s Dungeons and Dragons Panic. It was kind of a big thing in the 70s. It really picked up steam in the 80s because in the 80s you had another big thing that came about in the 80s was televangelists.
Oh, yeah.
You had like the 700 Club, which is still on the air. I had no idea, but it's still there and it's still going strong. And Pat Robertson still says the stupidest shit imaginable.
I think that came on, and I got confused really early when it first, because didn't it come on like right before cartoons or something on Saturdays or?
Oh fuck if I know. I don't remember.
I just remember seeing like the 700 Club, like this like intro, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch this.
No, I do that as an adult. I don't want to watch this at all. Okay, In the era of potent concern over internet pornography, cyberbullying, and drugs, it is hard to imagine a game being controversial. But 30 years ago, Dungeons & Dragons was the subject of a full-on moral panic. The author of this article, Peter Ray Allison, who talks about the beginning of 1982, a group of teenage boys are indulging in a role-play game featuring dice and spells and sounding a lot like Dungeons & Dragons. They indulge in banter as they wait for a pizza delivery to arrive. The innocuous depiction was a far cry from the less neutral coverage that was to come. Let's see. Talks about the history of the game. By 2004, it was estimated that the game had been played by over 20 million people.
It's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
Does that count? I wonder if that counts just Dungeons and Dragons or all like kind of role playing games, because you think a lot of
that probably just counts Dungeons and Dragons, because I mean, like, especially in the 70s and not really until like the mid to late 80s there wasn't really a lot of other games. I mean, D&D kind of was it. In the late 80s, there's when a lot of other systems started to develop, like Shadowrun was 89. You had Alternity, GURPS. There was a Star Wars role-playing game in the late 80s. Yeah, it wasn't really until like 85, 87, around there, that a lot of them started to crop up. And that's also when TSR bought, or TSR had the rights. TSR started to become like a pretty big company and started coming out with more games. TSR was the company that originally owned the Dungeons and Dragons, rights before I think they eventually went bankrupt, but they sold to Wizards of the Coast.
Gotcha. And so, and you started. What year did you start playing?
I started when I was young, because my dad played.
Okay.
My dad played. I mean, I still have some of his books, old books. I mean, he played. So I got into it early. I was probably like maybe 9 or 10 when I started reading the books. And I mean, I didn't really actually sit down to a formal game until I was probably like 11 or 12.
Gotcha. So it was like 94, 95 when you were starting to kind of like get into it and play.
Yeah.
Because like when this panic was going on, I mean, like people were saying like, your kids are going to die. They're going to dress up in these outfits and go into these sewers. They're going to beat each other to death with sticks. And, they can't really, they can't figure out what reality is. And I mean, there's a lot of propaganda that came with this. It's like you're going to start worshiping the devil. You're going to open yourself up to get demons, and
right.
And so,
well, not only that, like they would come out with news stories, and like some of them would be completely bogus. Like I give you okay, here they actually talk about here in 1979, 16-year-old child prodigy James Dallas Egbert III disappeared from his room at Michigan State University. A private investigator, William Deere, was hired by James's parents to find their son. Despite apparently knowing little about role-playing games, Deere believed that D&D was the cause of Egbert's disappearance. In truth, Egbert suffered from, among other things, depression and drug addiction, and had gone into hiding in the utility tunnels under the university. During an episode of self-harm, the well-publicized episode, referred to as the Seam Tunnel Incident, prompted a number of works of fiction, including the novel Mazes and Monsters and the 1982 Tom Hanks film of the same name.
Did you ever see that movie?
Mazes and Monsters?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never seen it, so I mean, is it very much like a propaganda kind of film? Like
it kind of is, which is it's so weird to see, because like I said, Tom Hanks was in it and everything. It was basically that they were saying through this game that this kid develops like a psychosis almost, and they have to kind of like talk him down from the ledge by the end of it.
I think I've seen bits of it, because then he basically can't figure out what's reality and what's game. Like he thinks he's in the game.
Right.
Which is interesting because, I mean, I could see somebody doing that, like getting so obsessed, or just they don't have the mental capacity to figure out what's what. But I mean, that's just somebody that has some kind of mental issue.
Right.
That could come on by anything. It could, a movie could create that. Video games or a book or just talking to somebody. And if all those things didn't create, he probably would develop something like that anyway.
Yeah. Let's see. In 1982, high school student Irving Lee Pulling died of shooting himself in the chest, despite an article in the Washington Post at the time commenting how he had trouble fitting in. Mother Patricia Pulling believed her son's suicide was caused by him playing D&D. At first, she attempted to sue her son's high school principal, claiming the curse placed upon her son's character during a game run by the principal was real. She also sued TSR. Despite the court dismissing these cases, she continued her campaign by forming Bothered About D&D. So bad. Yeah, in 1983.
It's clever.
That is clever. Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons. I think you're reaching.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're to the point where you're suing and forming organizations, I think you're a bit more than bothered.
Well, and that's like a stretch just in the acronyms, because like you have like you can think like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It's like that makes sense. SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions. That makes sense. It's like we need something like that.
Yeah.
What do we want to start with? Well, let's go with bad. What can we make that work? Bad ass. No.
Pulling described D&D as a fantasy role-playing game which uses demonology, witchcraft, voodoo, murder, rape, blasphemy, suicide, assassination, insanity, sex perversion, homosexuality, prostitution, satanic-type rituals, gambling, barbarism, cannibalism, sadism, desecration, demon summoning, necromantics, divination, and other teachings. I want to be in the campaign that apparently this kid was in, because this campaign sounds amazing.
Well, I mean, the homosexuality one, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who joke about their dicks being somewhere. I mean, I've heard that, but...
Right.
Cannibalism, I think there's a guy who likes to eat ears, but not really promoting it. I mean, we don't go out for ears after, during break at game time. We, get pizza or whatever.
You don't?
No, not recently.
Me neither. Let's see. Assassination, done that. Insanity, been that. Sex perversion, eye of the beholder. I mean, what's I don't know. I think
different strokes for different folks.
Right, exactly. Prostitution, I've been there. Satanic type rituals, definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I want to be in this campaign.
I was just gonna say, you need to tell everybody that that's in the game, right? That's not in real life.
Oh.
Oh, I've never done any of those then.
I mean, yeah, character, sure. I mean, thought that was the point, right?
So, because when I got into gaming, I mean, I've like a lot of these things I heard about when I was younger, but I didn't really realize what they were talking about. But like, did you ever experience this, or have you talked to your dad, like what he dealt with or heard about what he was
I
playing?
haven't talked to him about what he's dealt with. I will say that actually some of the books that I first got, I got from, I had a friend whose brother was a minister, like a Protestant. Yeah, I think Protestant minister. And we went over to his house one day, and me and this friend played a lot, and I don't know how we got on the subject of it, and my friend's brother was like, "Oh, you play the game, you should come with me." And we go out to his garage, and he opens up the garage, and inside his garage are stacks of books. Like probably a good like 2 or 3 3-foot high stacks of books.
Like same copies, like same books, or a bunch of different
Some
books?
of them are same books, and it wasn't all the same book. I mean, a lot of players' handbooks, a couple monster manuals, some DMGs, a couple other random ones here and there. And I was like, where did you, what? And he said, well, I've had mothers in my congregation that have taken them from the kids. They've taken them from their kids and then given them to me to cleanse or destroy or set on fire or whatever. And I said, well, why, I was like, they're just sitting here. Why didn't, he's like, I'm not a Nazi. I'm not going to burn books.
Did he play it all, or?
No, he didn't play, but he didn't see the harm.
Yeah.
And so that's actually how I got some of those books, because he's like, just take what you want.
That's all. So did he give them to a lot of kids, or did he just?
I think it was just, I don't know if he gave them to other people, but
like after Bible studies, he'd give them out, give
Right.
them back to the same kids that moms
he
gave them
just
to.
handed them out. But yeah, I mean, that's how fucked up this whole thing is. Like, that's how fucked up the whole thing got. Like, I mean, moms are taking books. I mean, this is. I mean, it's like I said, like they were giving them to preachers to have them burned. We got book burning going on in America. America.
When I was younger, like I said, I heard people talking about this weird thing. I didn't really put two and two together till I got older, but they were talking about basically the instance of like how Dungeons and Dragons is super dangerous for kids. It's evil and all this, and it was some mom really big into church and all that, and was like, her husband was talking to somebody, I think my dad, and I was just standing there kind of listening because I mean it's an interesting story. He's like, yeah, she kept telling him, it's like that's a dangerous game, that's a dangerous game, and guess what? Kid went down the sewer and thought it was real and started fighting with his friends and they end up killing him. Probably never happened, but it's just that hearsay of you do this, you're gonna die, somebody's gonna kill you or you're gonna kill somebody because it's just this evil thing.
Exactly.
Which I don't know if it's just people are getting a little bit smarter about it or what, but like you still hear it a little bit about video games and maybe comic books.
You do hear it about it. I think it's just you go with the numbers. Like in the early 80s and in the late 70s, early 80s, like all we had was Atari.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like people were playing Space Invaders and then thought someone was an actual alien and then shot him in the face.
Kids are going out, they're throwing beach balls at each other, and they're just going up and down in a straight line trying to get the ball to pass them. Going boop, boop, boop.
He was popping pills trying to turn the ghosts into things he could eat. But yeah, I mean, I think you're just talking about the numbers. A lot of people play D&D in the early 80s. And so you had so occasionally you had a kid that, was not in a good place and shit happened. Like now you have a lot of kids that play video games and you have people that aren't quite, you have some kids that just, just have problems and things get exacerbated.
I mean, is that just not taking responsibility for a kid having like that mental state? It's like, it's not really anything external. It's something internal to the kid, but people can't come to the grip that
I don't know. I think you're talking. Yeah, I think that's the whole nature versus nurture debate. I mean, are bad kids bad because they were born bad, or are bad kids bad because they're made bad?
I don't know. It's a deep thought.
Yeah. Thought provoking. That's what we do. We ask the hard questions.
And then we make dick jokes.
What? Yes. Let's see. While the wider claims about the nature of D&D tended to emanate from evangelical groups, they prompted wider suspicion. The memes from campaigns proliferated and, being pushed largely uncritically in the initial stages, led to a wide-ranging list of bizarre claims. For example, that when a character died, you were also likely to commit suicide. I'll tell you what, if I've lost like a really high level character, like I mean I don't throw it out. I'm just like, crap. Like, do I really want to go through all the trouble of re-rolling?
Well,
should I just eat a bullet?
I always love like other groups too, like if one of your character dies, it's like, well, we got a wish, and everybody's like going through the book trying to make sure like it's all legit or whatever to bring him back, and usually like it's fudged a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, you came back to life, yay!
Yay!
That's not how it's supposed to be played.
Why you don't? Okay, let's see.
But basically, there's no wishes in life, so don't take don't kill yourself.
Yeah, it's don't. Please don't. I'm not making. I am making light of suicide slightly, but don't. People don't.
Well,
Are you kidding me? Don't.
Well, I think a lot of it is like what's funny about it is they're trying to associate somebody's issues on a like pen and paper dice game. That, I mean, yeah, there's like if you're not into that stuff, it is really really weird. But because I know when like you first introduced me to it, I was kind of like, I mean, I've always heard those things. Like it's demons and yada yada yada. And so I mean, I had those kind of thoughts going in, but I'm like, Rich is cool, so this should be fine.
Well, I mean, like I mean, it's still. I mean, there's still cases of things like this happening. I mean, you don't hear a lot about it. There was a vampire, the Masquerade. There was a story of like maybe 10, 15 years ago of a group of kids where one kid was like, uh, he basically kind of turned like his vampire role playing group into like a weird kind of Manson family kind of thing.
I think I've heard it because didn't they actually end up killing somebody, or they think that group killed somebody?
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of them's in prison, as far as I know, the leader or whatever. But yeah. Oh, let's see. D&D continues to be debated in the U.S. at least. In 2010, the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit upheld a ban on D&D by the Waupun Correctional Institution. Captain Moraski, the institution's gang specialist, testified that D&D can foster an inmate's obsession with escaping from the real-life correctional environment, fostering hostility, violence, and escape behavior.
So they don't allow him to play in prison? Is that what that means?
According to this, I think it might be just in this jurisdiction.
Okay.
But
well, yeah, it's like it's so they can't play a game because they might imagine wanting to escape, or they get out of the correctional facility for
check
an
in,
hour.
Inmate. You can't see me. I'm invisible.
But like you read a book and everything, and that's that's your imagination. You're escaping the
right.
reality
That's
of
what
being
I'm
in
saying.
prison.
Like, what if is that? Can these inmates not read like the Harry Potter books? I think if you're reading the Harry Potter books in prison, though, I think you might be asking for trouble.
Yeah. Well, I wonder too. Like they think of rape and homosexuality and all that. They're probably
Right.
scared. It's like, oh, here's a +2 of anal rape.
Expecto Patronus. Get in the shower.
Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter.
Oh God. Ugh. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's. I think the underlying theme with when you talk about things like video games and Dungeons and Dragons and I mean, music that is thought to be satanic, or I think the underlying theme is it taps parts of the human brain, and I think that I think you're dealing with the randomness of people. And when you have a lot of people doing something, most people are going to be fine with it. Some people might not respond or react to it.
Yeah, just some people just probably can't handle it. They just
right. Exactly. So I mean, do I think that Dungeons and Dragons causes people to shoot themselves and kill their friends? No. No more than I think music does. No more than I think that movies or video games or anything does. I mean, it's all up to the individual. It's all up to what it's all personal, and it's all their own a combination of biology and psychology.
Yeah, kind of like, I don't know. You probably feel about the same way. Like, I think it's a mixture of like the kid or the person, and then like the environment they're raised up in. Like, I think it's just kind of that grouping of things, and that's what ends up being the result of what happens.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow, everything just kind of got somber.
That got deep. Well, let's lighten it up a little bit. So you've seen Total Recall. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Here, interesting tidbit. Like, I think this kind of sums up my point. There was an interview after the Columbine shooting, with Marilyn Manson. Now, I'm not a huge Marilyn Manson fan. I do like his music. I think he's a very artistic kind of person. He does painting and But anyway, there was an interview in Rolling Stone. It was right after the Columbine shooting, and someone asked him, because at that time, like, he was getting a lot of blame for these kids and the road they went on, and the steps that they took. And someone asked him, If you could say something to these two kids that carried out the shooting, if you could talk to them, what would you say to them? And Marilyn Manson said, I wouldn't say anything. I would listen to what they had to say. And that's what nobody did. So I think it just says that, people have problems and we have to be on the lookout for it, but to blame all these external forces is naive at best and downright criminal at worst.
Yeah, just kind of passing the blame.
But I know what you're talking about, so I'm ready to move on.
All right, so craziness, I guess you can call this. You said tit. It is a little titillating.
I see what you did there. Oh, fun with words.
And just somebody going to extremes. So this is something I found on 9news.com. There's a lady, a U.S. massage therapist, that she is just going to these extreme lengths to become a reality TV star, and she has undergone a surgery. So you think
how much was the surgery?
It's $20,000.
$20,000.
$20,000. So you think, oh wait, well that seems expensive for like a nose. Did she get a boob job, tummy tuck? Did she get kind of just a full redo? No, she's going all what movie? Total Recall. She went all Total Recall on us, and she had herself added a third breasticle.
A third breast. She is now the three-titted chick from
She
Total Recall.
3 boobies, and they are kind of creepy looking because in this picture she basically has like a 3-thing bra. It looks pretty close to like the Total Recall top.
He's not looking at an actual picture, folks. This is his screensaver right now. This is his wallpaper on his desktop.
Well, I got it printed out, and I actually have it on my wall. I didn't even get her head or body. I just got that section. Tiffany's like, what is that? I'm like, it's art.
It's art. Don't you judge it.
So this is just interesting because she's doing this to try to become a reality TV star. She said she called 50 doctors trying to figure out one that would do it. And some wouldn't do it because of, they felt like they were going to break their code of ethics. So finally, you'd think
wouldn't break my code of ethics. Zing!
So it's just crazy, like the length that people go to become a reality star, and I think
this
that's
is
an
because
interesting
she
thing.
wants to be on a reality TV show, so she spends $20,000 to get a third breast. I want to know how did she manage to get together $20,000? Like, to me, like reality TV stars kind of do it for the money, but like she already had 20 grand.
And from what I've heard, most like reality TV stars don't make that much money. It's very difficult to make money like until like I think you get to like your 4th or 5th season, like when you start being able to do that. But even then, once the show's done, they basically make their money by going out to like clubs or different conventions and signing stuff.
Huh.
But like what's this chick gonna do? I mean,
yeah, like what's the premise of her reality show? I'm gonna walk around with 3 boobs. Everyone's gonna stare at my 3 boobs. And then I boobs.
She's gonna have a camera there she's gonna have cameras in both cleavages and just walk around and the show's just gonna be people looking at her, some throwing up and freaking
to me
out.
It just sounds like a big bunch of reaction shots.
And so a little bit further down, she's talking about her parents. Like, how'd your parents feel about this? And I guess her mom ran out of the door and won't even talk to her anymore. They won't let her sister talk to her, and her dad, he really isn't happy. That's a direct quote. My dad, he isn't really happy.
Yeah, that's weird.
He's kind of ashamed at me, but he accepted it. I guess
that's exactly what's running through his mind.
I'm trying to see if she changed her name or not, but her last name, Tri-Devil. Perfect.
Oh, that's too good. Too good for words.
But it's crazy to think about. Like, these people do just about anything to get on TV. And I don't know if it's just for 15 minutes of fame or if they think that there's just a ton of money in it or what, but it seems like people just do just about anything to get on TV.
Including adding a third breast.
Yes. That doesn't seem like a good investment. $20,000 to add a third breast.
No, not at all.
I don't see she's got tops on everything, so I don't even know what these will look like. Like I can't believe that it looks normal.
Oh no, God no. I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure it looks like it probably looks like something crafted from the mind of Rob Zombie. That's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing like a Devil's Rejects version of with the stitch marks on there and everything.
It's like you can still see the string holding it in place, like on her chest. Ah, gross.
Yeah, so that's life. This is the world we live in. We live in a world where we now have a 3-breasted chick. We have seedless watermelon and a chick with 3 boobs. You can grow a watermelon in the shape of a square. I didn't know this.
Really?
Yeah, if you have the watermelon in a wooden box, then the watermelon will actually grow and conform to the shape of the box.
Oh, makes sense.
So you could have square watermelon.
I wonder if you could do anything else. Like, could you get square pumpkins then?
I don't know. I'm wondering if you could do it in all sorts of shapes. Like you just make like stencils for watermelons.
Yeah.
And then you could sell like designer watermelons. You have like watermelon in the shape of your name.
You just came up with $1 million idea.
I think I just did.
Copyright it.
Copyright. Language of Bromance.
But like, I wonder too. Like, I can't really tell. Like, how'd they put it together? They just take the original 2 and pull them apart and throw the third one right there in the middle.
That's what I would. That's how I would think they would do it. I mean, unless like they put the third one on her back or something.
I'm sure this would work for you too. And she got it because she wanted to make herself unattractive to men because she didn't want to date anymore. But she's posting tons of pictures of her.
Totally turns me off.
It's like, listen, I'm going to take all these pictures of me in bikinis and post them on social media just because I don't want to date anymore and I want people to think I'm gross.
You know what? I don't want to be with women anymore, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a 5-inch enhancement on my cock.
You're going to make it vibrate.
Right? It's going to be able to, it's bionic. It's going to be able to bend at 90 degrees and then spin like a fan blade.
And then you know what it'll do afterwards? It'll cuddle with you.
Right.
Girls
all
hate
by
that.
its own. And it'll tell you, there'll be a little speaker that will tell you that you're beautiful.
Cooks you dinner, does laundry, does everything you want.
Right.
What are you going to call that thing?
I'm going to call it my undateable dick.
That's $2 million ideas. I'm just throwing that out there.
My undateable. You can make a little song for it, like My Little Pony. My undateable dick.
Girls, have you ever wanted a penis that bends at a 90-degree angle and vibrates and will cook you dinner and tell you that he loves you?
Right.
Meet my undateable dick.
Nobody wants that. Who would want that? That's why so if I ever want to swear off women, like some people are like, hey, join the priesthood. No. I have a better idea. See, like this woman's like, I don't want to date anymore. Like, she could be a nun. She could have joined a convent and like put that $20,000 into the church, and she could have gone and helped poor people in Africa and fed the starving in Calcutta. I mean, Mother Teresa's not around anymore. I mean, she could have filled that role, and she could have, been selfless and engaged in charity and worked towards a good cause. No, I'm going to take $20,000 and get myself a third breast.
Well, and then she's going to try and get into the reality TV because that's what you do to even
because it's a very reputable institution.
Because no guy's going to want to have sex with you or look at you when you're on TV because there's not guys out there like that. No. The bad thing is, though, even if she becomes a reality star, there's maybe 1 season on her or 2 at the most. Like, I don't even know what would it be. But what it's going to end up happening is somebody's going to offer a shit ton of money to a porn, and then she's going to become a stripper.
Yeah.
That's pretty much your next couple options.
Oh, porn.
Well, I mean, you look at the reality stars, that's pretty much what happens with them. Like, you look at
Do they go to porn?
Most of them do.
Like who?
They're of age now, I believe. I haven't seen any of them, but like a lot of the girls from 16 and pregnant, like when they when they get into their 20s, there's been a couple, at least one I know of that have gone into porn.
Wow.
And the one, I think she was 22 when she did it, and she like they tried to sell it as it was like leaked footage or whatever. Like it's like, oh no, that's a video we had that somebody stole. But I heard somebody talk about it, and basically like there's like different camera angles, like professionally done. And they're like, yeah, that's an actual porn.
Oh, that's great.
But I mean, you look at like Octomom. I think she had her reality show, and somebody offered her a shit ton of, well, not a shit ton, but they offered her money to do porn, and she took them up on it. There's Screech. There's a lot of people who kind of get to that end of the rope, and it's you either go to Celebrity Fit Club. What's the drug one? The rehab one?
Oh, Celebrity Rehab.
Celebrity Rehab, or you do porn.
Yeah. I guess if I'm the three options, I guess I go with porn.
You might as well try. I mean, if you're gonna get cleaned up, you might as well get that in there before you have to, turn
do
your
that
life
first
around.
And then go to Celebrity Rehab.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good plan.
Because see, you go to Celebrity Rehab and you act all ashamed, like, oh, I didn't want to. I was such a down. I was just doing so much, Coke. And they're like, you did Coke?
Right.
It's like, well, Coca-Cola. I needed the caffeine.
Well, plus, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think being a guy, like, I think I would have the benefit of being a bit more anonymous in porn.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because nobody's staring at the dude.
It's a waist down, maybe a few headshots every now and then. Well,
right,
2 headshots.
Right. See what you did there. But
Weird
yeah,
joke.
I do porn. Why not?
It's really interesting. Like growing up, kind of in the Midwest, like you kind of get like to the D&D type things where like everything's pretty sheltered and everybody tries to follow the moral, what's considered moral, and then like people doing porn. It's like we don't love each other or anything, but it's a job. It's fun. Why not?
Right. Also, like, but the thing is, like, as a guy, you don't make that much money doing porn.
That's what
I think
heard,
it's like $600, like $600 a movie. Whereas, like, if you're a female in porn, I think you can make up to like $10,000 per movie.
Wow. How many days of shooting is that?
Probably just I think they pay by the scene.
Okay.
So it's like $300 per scene. But if you're a female, I think it's like $2,000 per scene.
Gotcha. I always wonder too, like you see, like I think Brie Olson's like the big Adam and Eve girl, like she's in a lot of their movies. I always wonder like what she makes per movie because those are pretty decent, like full length movies almost because they're usually spoofs.
Well, also as a guy, like you can make more money doing gay porn.
I have heard that, yeah.
And most of those guys are actually straight.
That's what I've heard. And the worst thing about gay porn? It's just your friends finding out. Because seriously, if your friends find out, I mean, who are they going to tell? I mean, they come in and talk to you like, hey, I saw you in a movie. It's like, oh, yeah, well, why don't you tell all these other guys what movie you're watching and saw me in? Checkmate, buddy.
And like, well, the fucked up thing I heard once is I remember where I watched this in, but during scenes, like most of these guys like have girlfriends or whatever, and they'll actually bring their girlfriends on set and have them off camera, like doing things to themselves, so that way the guy in the scene watching his girlfriend can actually like stay functional for the scene.
Well, I think because I can't remember what show this was. There was a show where they talk to porn stars. There's actually a really cool Netflix documentary that talks about that too. I watched with Tiffany.
I think it was called like After Porn Ends or something.
Yeah, that was really interesting. But like I think I don't know if it was that one or a different one, but like a gay guy ended up telling, or no, he wasn't gay. He was doing gay porn and went and told his family about it, and they basically like disowned him. But he said that for him to be able to kind of participate in that, he actually had to take like Viagra just to be able to go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, that after porn was interesting because it's like I can't remember the people they follow, but some of them are done, and then like it seemed like the ending credits, like every one of them had to end up going back into it because they couldn't do what they wanted to, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. I've heard that like most of the porn stars, especially like back then in like the 80s and stuff like that, they kind of saw it as like a stepping stone, like, oh, I'll do this and that'll get me into like a legitimate acting career or something like that, and then like pretty much all that kind of fell apart.
Well, I don't know if it's different now. Like I'd hope it is. It seems like there's a lot more women that own their own production companies and they're able to say, no, we're doing this, and this. But like you look at like the girl that was in Deep Throat, I can't remember her name. Loveless?
Linda Lovelace.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Loveless?
No.
It's her life story, and she only did that one movie. And like you go through the movie, and like that movie was huge.
It was.
I mean, I wasn't around for it. I've never even seen it.
I wasn't around for it, but
like that movie made like millions and millions of dollars. And she just kind of, it was her first one she ever did, and she just kind of did it on a whims. Her then husband or boyfriend at the time got her into it, and basically all the money that she was making from anything he spent on drugs and whatnot, and was super abusive, and basically was forcing her to do those things.
wow.
And it's crazy because that movie they showed, it made like I want to say it made like $200 million.
Well, yeah, that was kind of the first like kind of big porn thing.
Yeah, but they said she only made like $2,000 off that movie.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's the life, I guess.
That's the nature of the beast that is porn. But yeah, like now, like these, I mean, like these women that I mean, like you said, they have their own production companies, and they market like take like Jenna Jameson. I mean, like I don't think she doesn't really do movies anymore. She's got a production company. She has a line of like sex toys and and all this other stuff. And I mean, like I think that's to me, it seems like that's what porn stars are working towards now, especially the women. It's also like it's weird because it's a woman dominated industry. I mean, you talk about equality between the sexes and things like that. Like in the porn industry, like women have the power.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if they've just like you hear that they are, but and I really hope they are like getting control of all that, because I mean, if all the women in porn said, yeah, we're done, we're not going to do this, I mean, the industry would fold, because I don't know how big gay porn is, but I would think a majority of it's people looking for females.
Right. God, I don't even like. It's like a $7 billion industry or something like that.
But nobody watches it.
Nobody watches it, including me.
Never seen it before in my life.
I've never played loud enough. I guess it's loud enough so people to hear.
I've never played D&D. I've never looked at porn. I live a clean life.
Me too.
So what other stories do you have?
I have Scotland voting for independence. Scotland, I'm gonna squeeze this in, because if there's one thing I love talking about more than anything, it's freedom. Freedom. Recently, Scotland had a referendum vote to be independent from Great Britain, and unfortunately, though, in the course of this vote, they lost.
I heard it was like 54 to 48%. Like it was.
Yeah.
Really...
The last I checked, it was 55% to 45%. But the thing that I thought was amazing, they had 84% voter turnout.
Wow,
that's insane.
Now I've heard about it. Like I heard very, very little about it, and then all of a sudden I heard about the voting. What were the issue? Like, why were they wanting to try to get their independence?
Well, basically, I think it was more of a generational thing. I think that you had the younger generations that wanted to break away from Great Britain. They wanted kind of to be their own country. They felt like Great Britain kind of overlooked them, and in some ways kind of took advantage, and so I think if you looked at I saw the voting numbers the other day, but I think if you looked at the voting numbers, it was kind of split more across generational lines than anything else.
So like a lot of the younger votes were saying we want freedom.
Right, a lot of the younger votes were saying, we want to be independent from Great Britain, and it was a lot of older people that voted to stay. Which is, I mean, it's kind of a sad deal, because I'm all for freedom.
Well, I hope I know I talked to Tiffany's mom a little bit about this, and she kind of said she thinks this is really a way for them to say, hey, we're not getting enough voice in the current government, so this is kind of a hopefully a scare tactic to say, hey, like you were this close for us saying we want our independence. So we need to
Well,
have
and
more
also
voice.
like and also the thing that they were like a lot of people were trying to figure out is like, okay, well, what's Scotland going to do when it comes to things like NATO? And, are they a member of the European Union? And are they a member of NATO? And
Well, then there's the whole like all the England, military stuff that's there. Who owns that? And then what are they going to do about their own military? Their money issue, I think, was something I heard is like, what currency are they going to use?
right.
Which brings up an interesting question then. And so, like in the United States, because I think the way that, and I don't know for sure, but it sounds like the way England kind of works is each of their like areas are almost like what we could call our states. It seems like Scotland would be its own state.
You have England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. Which I think it's funny that you got Wales because like they're just this little bit kind of on the end, but they're there.
The whole area is like the size of like Illinois,
right?
But like if you think about like the United States, like what state do you think would be able to like break off and declare its own independence?
Of all the states, what state do I think would break off? I'm gonna go with California.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. That's gonna be the one.
No,
Oh man, huge economy. Fucking.
They're super in debt.
They are super in debt, but they still have like. So's the U.S.
So they'll break off and they'll be like, "We're not paying that debt. Fuck you. That's the United States debt."
I think, exactly. Like
that's
how
California.
That's how we do it. But
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, huge booming economy, big state, big agricultural state. Like, there's a technology sector. Like, I don't know. I've actually there's been talk of California actually breaking off into separate states.
I've heard that from like a bunch of different states. Like Colorado was pushing for that, but I think to get that done, it takes a lot of effort. Like, because Colorado said they basically want to be split up into like north-south Colorado, and I think you need it's like 75% of Congress or like 80%. Like it's a huge number to approve it, and then like a bunch of other things need to happen for it to get approved. Like it sounds like it's really difficult to do. But
yeah, I don't know what all it entails.
But I would think that a state that would break off, and they talk about it a lot, because I believe they vote on it once a year if they want to secede from the union or not, would be the state of Texas.
They do.
Because I believe their economy is in really good shape. They've got plenty of oil. Their National Guard, military that they have set up is really good. I think the problems that they've talked about with them then is like, what will they do for their currency? Then they have to deal with their own border. And then I think like the big draw of Texas too is they don't have a state income tax. Well, they'd have to start doing that because like a big percentage of the money they get in is from federal tax money.
This is true.
So, but if they broke off, that would obviously go away.
Well, see, that's why I think like any state in terms of seceding from the union or something like that, like no state's going to do that now because every state has become so dependent on federal tax money that you're not. I don't see that happening in my lifetime.
And like, would you feel comfortable if your state did that? I mean, like, if Texas did break off, would you want to, would you feel comfortable being in the country of Texas or the country of Illinois?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's all like, it's all what, I mean, there's that whole, grass is greener, but I mean, I think you'd have to, I think it would be just like moving to say you lived in Europe. I think it'd just be like moving from France to Spain.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. The result spares the United Kingdom the loss of a third of its landmass, 8% of its population, and international prestige and power on the world stage. A separation would have cast doubt into the role of Scotland in the European Union and NATO, the status of the British pound, and the rate of assets ranging from North Sea oil to nuclear submarines.
Oh, wow. I would still think it would do all those things, though, because, I mean, it was that close of a vote. Does it say how long they can't vote on this again?
Not in the story I'm looking at. Glasgow, Scotland's largest city, voted for independence by better than 53%, but the other two big cities voted to stay in the UK. The oil city of Aberdeen voted decisively with the UK 59-41, and Edinburgh voted 61% to remain in the UK.
Wow. That's got to be a tough like time for that, just because it's just so in the unknown. Like you go from being like, yeah, we're going to be our own, country, to being like, oh well, things are back to normal. And like I just asked, like, when are they going to vote for it again? It doesn't seem like the issue's resolved. You can't say.
Yeah. See, I mean, to say that the issue's resolved, I think is dumb.
Yeah, you can't say, oh well, we voted on it, so it's like this forever now. It's like, well, no, it was close. Let's vote again next year. Let's vote again next year. There's laws in California that they voted on and passed, and then they end up saying, well, no, those aren't valid laws. We're not going to honor it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
That's I don't know if it'll ever come to this, but I mean, you think like if it got to a point where they wanted to basically start a civil war essentially and say, hey, well, if we can't do this democratically, we'll do it,
Yeah, then we'll have another William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, and he'll ride around on a motorcycle with blue face paint and a machine gun. Freedom!
Braveheart 2.
Oh, see, you know what they should have done? They should have had Mel Gibson doing commercials like for the referendum.
Yeah, all in Braveheart.
Right? Like in his outfit and shit.
Well, and then what would happen is the people that wanted to stay with the UK, they would show the very ending of that when he's getting his wiener cut off.
Well, they wouldn't. Yeah, that's how the other side would.
Yeah.
The other side would show that commercial and be like, oh, by the way, we chopped his head off. So, think twice.
Think twice when you vote. It's like, well,
paid for by.
This doesn't seem very democratic.
Right?
I wonder, I thought about this from time to time. Do you ever think that like the United States would ever have like another type of civil war? Or do you think it's just that the government's so big that it could never happen?
I think that the federal government is so overwhelming that, and it's to me it's not really a question of force of arms or whatever. I think it's economics. I think that we rely too much. I think that the states rely too much on federal funds that they can't. There's no incentive.
Yeah.
To break off, and that's the harsh, bad reality of it all.
Well, and that's kind of, you said that it's so interdependent economically. Well, you think of like the world stage, even like the world's very economically dependent on all the countries. So will that kind of keep things in check? Like, will we ever see another...
I think that has kept things in check. I mean, people talk about what's the answer to world peace. I'm saying it's economics.
Yeah.
When it's easy, if I have 5 iPods and you have the choice between either trying to kill me and risking your own life in order to get my iPods, or you having, the money to buy 2 iPods, which one are you going to pick?
Yeah, if I have the money for 2 iPods, it's going to be easier just to buy 2 iPods than to go through the effort of fighting you for your 5.
Right, and then running the risk of getting killed yourself. I mean, you want to know what the cure to how to create world peace is economics. When people have cash, and when people have goods and services and jobs, then there isn't a real incentive to try and kill and destroy things.
Yeah, because if you have money, if you have the opportunities and everything, you can go out and buy 3 boobs and get on reality TV.
Yeah!
Booyah! Bring it back around.
That's how you do it. 3 boobs.
3 boobs. D&D hating.
Hope you have 3 hands.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add before we do a little housekeeping?
Don't commit suicide. While 3 boobs sounds awesome, I wouldn't ask for it. And
give peace a chance.
Give peace a chance. Don't go into porn unless you want to take it balls deep. Yes.
All right. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Language of Bro. You can email us at languageofbromance@gmail.com. You can visit our website, languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook, leave us a comment, or subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you want...
Gotta love Stitcher.
Stitcher's amazing.
Stitcher Radio.
If you want, you can give us a pod nod or any other podcast you listen to. It's soundlikeanearful.com/community/nods.
Yeah.
Anything?
Nod for the pod.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
All right.
No,
well,
I was trying to think of something really quick and witty and clever, and I am tapped.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver.
Freedom!